If you lose, would you dare to end your own life to preserve your honor? This sword doesn't just kill people, it kills the future of its master. Samurai don't fear death, they fear living without honor. A vow, a single sword stroke, and a ritual that ends it all. Behind the armor lies a life of discipline, and a death prepared in advance. I arrive before dawn, when the world is still made of silhouettes and breath. Frost clings to the rail of a samurai residence, and a lantern swings gently under the eaves. The light it throws is not warm, it is disciplined. It shows only what it must: a strip of raked gravel, a water basin, the edge of a veranda, sandals placed with careful symmetry, as if the house itself is practicing restraint. Inside, a man kneels on tatami.
He is not old, yet he moves like someone who has rehearsed the same motions for years. His hair is bound, his robe is simple, his hands are clean. Before him lies a sword wrapped in cloth, not displayed like a trophy, not hidden like a shame, but kept like a promise. This is the first truth of samurai life. The sword is never just a weapon, it is a boundary line. It divides what you are allowed to do from what you are forbidden to do. It reminds you that violence is always close, close enough that a man must build his entire life around not misusing it. When people imagine samurai, they often start with battle, steel flashing, horses thundering, heroic duels beneath falling leaves. But most samurai, for most of their lives, live inside a social system, feudal, hierarchical, intensely public, where duty is constant and reputation is oxygen. Their world is made of obligations, to a lord, to family, to clan, to one's own name. And if you want to understand the samurai, you must understand the weight of a name. A samurai child grows up under quiet pressure. From early on, he learns posture, language, and silence. He learns when to lower his eyes and when not to. He learns that to speak carelessly is to leak authority. He learns that a small public mistake is not small at all. It can stain a lineage. Even play can feel like practice. Even meals can feel like ritual. The body is trained to become predictable because unpredictability is dangerous. Morning begins with order. Washing at the basin is not only hygiene, it is reset. Clothing is arranged so it falls correctly. A knot is tied so it holds. Breakfast is modest, but the modesty is not poverty, it is intent. Restraint is a kind of armor, and the samurai wears it before he ever touches steel. Then comes training, not always with live blades, often with wooden swords, staffs, or the bow. Repetition rules the body until the body obeys without debate. In sword schools, forms, kata, look like choreographed stories because that is what they are, stories of survival. Each step, each angle of the blade is a lesson paid for long ago by someone who did not move correctly. But skill is only one pillar. Another pillar is etiquette, and this is where outsiders often misunderstand the samurai world. In a society where disputes could turn lethal, manners are not decoration, they are safety rails. A bow, a phrase, a respectful distance. These prevent misunderstandings from rising into violence. The way you enter a room matters. The way you sit matters. Where your hands rest matters. Even how you touch your sword matters. A hand on a hilt can be an entire sentence of threat. A samurai's identity is tied to service. He is a retainer, bound to a lord. Loyalty here is not a romantic slogan. It is a social contract reinforced by land, stipends, favors, and the fear of falling. The lord grants status and livelihood. The samurai offers readiness, military, administrative, and moral. This readiness is constant. A man may be called to guard a gate, escort a messenger, enforce an order, collect taxes, settle disputes. In long periods of peace, many samurai become officials with swords, people who can write reports as well as draw steel. Peace changes everything. In extended peace, the samurai face a quiet crisis. What is a warrior for when there is no war? Many turn towards scholarship, Confucian ethics,
poetry, calligraphy, strategy texts. They refine the mind the way they refine the blade. Some practice the tea ceremony, not because they have forgotten violence, but because they want to master calm. The tea room becomes a stage for controlled humanity. Precise gestures, deliberate silence, the beauty of the ordinary elevated into meaning. Yet the sword remains. Always the sword. A samurai commonly carries two blades, the longer katana and the shorter wakizashi. Together they symbolize rank, but they also symbolize layers of life. The long blade is public, authority on the street, in the world. The short blade is intimate, kept close indoors, used in confined spaces, and in some contexts, associated with final rituals. The pairing is not only practical, it is a reminder that duty follows a samurai across thresholds, from public to private, from ceremony to crisis. Honor in this world is not simply being good, it is being consistent with a role. It is fulfilling obligations even when it hurts. It is behaving in a way that preserves trust within the hierarchy. A samurai who breaks faith through cowardice, corruption, betrayal, or public disgrace does not merely damage himself, he damages everyone attached to him: household, clan, lord. Shame spreads like ink in water. Because of this, discipline is not optional, it is survival. Consider the daily tensions. A samurai walks through town and must constantly calibrate his presence. If he looks weak, he invites insult. If he looks eager for conflict, he invites trouble. He must be firm but not reckless, proud but not arrogant, humble but not submissive. He must manage his face, because face is not vanity here, it is stability. The community reads his composure the way sailors read the sea. This is why so many stories turn on moments of insult: a careless word, a bumped shoulder, a rude laugh. These are not minor because they challenge hierarchy. If a samurai accepts public humiliation, he appears unfit for his role. If he responds too violently, he appears unstable. Either way, the world watches. Some disputes become duels, some become vendettas, but many are resolved through mediation, apology, compensation, or strategic silence. The image of constant sword fights is a myth sharpened by later entertainment. Real samurai life contains long stretches of paperwork, travel, waiting, and social negotiation. Often the drama is internal: a man swallowing anger, calculating consequences, balancing pride against duty. Still, violence is never far away. On campaign, a samurai checks armor, plates laced together, cords tightened, helmet secured. Armor is not only protection, it signals clan and rank. A crest functions like a flag. Recognition matters. It tells allies where to gather and enemies who stands before them. Battle is chaos, contained by training and terror. Earlier warfare relies heavily on archery and spears, with swords sometimes secondary in mass combat. But the sword holds symbolic power because it is personal. It is used close enough to see a face, and with that closeness comes the hardest test: fear. Samurai culture praises courage, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to act while fear sits in your chest like a stone. Some men steady themselves with ritual. Some write poems before battle. Some accept that the future may not include them. This acceptance can look like serenity, but it can be many things inside: faith, exhaustion, pride, or simply clarity. Which brings us to the darkest edge of honor: ritual suicide, often called seppuku. Modern storytelling can glamorize it, so we should speak plainly. Seppuku is not a theatrical flourish. It is a severe act tied to social codes and political pressures. It can be voluntary, forced, or requested in ways that leave little real choice. It can be used to avoid capture, to atone for failure, to protest injustice, or to preserve family status by dying correctly rather than living in disgrace. When it happens in formal settings, it is structured with frightening precision. Witnesses may be present. A second may stand by to end suffering at a critical moment. Details vary by time and domain, but the core remains. The body becomes the final statement, the last document signed in blood.
This is where myth and reality collide. The myth says honor is pure and death is noble. The reality says honor can be weaponized and death can be demanded. And yet, inside these harsh structures, there are human beings. I watch a father teach his child how to bow, how to hold a brush, how to speak with restraint. The father's eyes soften for a moment, then harden again. Not because he lacks love, but because the world is unforgiving. A samurai household runs on reputation. If the father dies or falls into disgrace, everyone suffers. Women in samurai families also live under these pressures. Their roles shift across time and region, but they manage households, negotiate alliances, carry dignity, and sometimes train in self-defense. Honor is not carried by men alone. It is carried by the whole house. In the long peace of the Edo era, many samurai struggle financially. Stipends may be fixed while prices rise. Some borrow, some take side work, some become teachers or scholars. A man can wear 2 swords while worrying about rice. Pride becomes expensive. The ideal of the warrior can clash with the reality of debt. And still, the identity persists, because it is not only about war, it is about belonging to a moral and social order. A sense that life has shape and rules even when the world feels unstable. The sword, again, becomes a symbol of that shape. Blades are crafted with remarkable skill, but the most important thing about a sword is not how it looks, it is how it is treated. Cleaned, oiled, stored properly. Respected not as a fetish, but as a reminder, I will not use this lightly. That reminder grows sharper when the world changes. As Japan modernizes and old domains dissolve, the samurai role begins to shrink. Some adapt. They become officers, bureaucrats, entrepreneurs. Some resist, clinging to the old code. The end of the samurai is not a single moment. It is an unthreading. But for individuals, it can feel sudden. A man who built his identity on service and sword now must find meaning in a new order that does not need his old certainty. If you look for the samurai's secret, it is not that they loved death, it is that they lived with death nearby, structured into daily choices. They did not wake up thinking, "Today I will be heroic." They woke up thinking, "Today I must be correct." Correct in posture, correct in speech, correct in loyalty, correct in restraint, correct in courage if called upon. Now the sun lifts above the roofline. Frost retreats from the yard. Somewhere in the city, merchants begin to shout prices and children begin to run. The samurai ties his belt and checks the position of his blades. He does not smile, not because he is cruel, but because he is carrying a role that does not belong to him alone. He steps out, and the swords at his side catch the morning light. For a moment, it is beautiful. Then I remember the cost of beauty in this world, the constant pressure to be worthy of a name, and the quiet understanding that if you fail, the same blade that grants status can also demand payment. That is the final truth of samurai life. Honor can steady a life, and it can make it fragile. The sword can protect you, and it can trap you. The code can guide you, and it can corner you. But inside those contradictions, a human being still walks forward, one careful step at a time, trying to live correctly in a world that watches, judges, and never forgets.